Welcome to the Senior Podcast Show. My name is Corey Lear. I am the Director of Communications with the Senior Companies. We are back for another episode. And then, as usual, we have a very special guest today. We have Marian Grout.
Hi, everyone.
She is one of our senior network partners. We work really closely with her. She is one of our real estate specialists. She helps all of our clients with all of their questions and, of course, selling their homes for top price.
Yes. Yes. That is always the goal.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. We are so glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I think real estate is a really important topic because no matter how many times, you've been through that process, it's different every single time.
It is. And every segment is different. So there are, first-time buyers where they're more excited to just not be renters anymore, obviously. Yeah. And they can have their own space. And, they usually don't care where they live. They're looking more for maybe close to family, but they'll look in different cities.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just more about what they can afford, what's going to be a good investment, which I'm always thinking about that for them. Right. And, just the excitement of being able to get into their new home.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And then after the first-time buyers, then we have the families who...
We have long lists.
Yeah, right.
Multiple needs.
Fans who need more space. So,
Yeah.
they're just starting their family. They need more than 1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
And they are more, and they pretty much know where they want to be, right?
Yeah.
They want this certain school district or they want a certain area. They're more particular about where they're going to live. The biggest challenge with that segment is that they need the equity from their house in order to be able to move in most cases.
Yeah.
Not always the case, but that's the biggest
A lot.
challenge right there, right?
Yeah.
Is how do we get the equity out of our house first to be able to buy the house? So it's been more difficult in the last couple of years because of the way the market's been.
No doubt.
And it's been so challenging to be able to do that. And, the people who couldn't afford to do that really couldn't move because the market was moving too fast.
Right.
But now that we're stabilizing a little bit, it's, what we do is we just sit down and consult and figure out, let's get your house sold first. We can build in equity. We can build in occupancy after closing so that then, you build in 60 days. Let's go out and find a house. We can put it under contract. You've got your money out. We can put it in there and we're good to go. So we always want to sit down
That's
and consult
really smart,
and make a plan.
Actually.
Yeah.
That's really smart.
Yeah. And again, it's all about consulting and advising and trying to figure out what they need and then figuring out the plan to be able to do that for them.
That's why we brought her here. See, I've already learned
I'm
something.
taking some notes mentally
Yeah,
for
it's
my
great,
next
right?
3
home
minutes
purchase.
in, I'm already good.
Yeah. And then we also have a huge relocation market. And we've got a lot of people moving in for the auto industry here in the Detroit area, but anywhere, people are always relocating for jobs. And I just sold a house in the area for a couple, and they have 3 kids under 5.
Oh, boy.
That's
They're
busy.
moving out of state.
Oh,
The dad's working at home now, remotely, right? So all kinds of challenges that go along with that, and also trying to get all that
showing
timing.
when you're working
Showings,
remotely.
yep.
And
Oh,
having
my
3
goodness.
kids. It's
Right.
a lot of moving pieces.
Right. So again, we sat down and said, what's important to you? Well, they don't want to be disrupted, right? So instead of doing one-off showings whenever anybody felt like it, we came up with a plan to where I did open house on Saturday and Sunday for 2 hours at a time. They could go to the park, they could go to the zoo, they could do whatever, and I'm there showing it to anybody who needed to see it, and then there's no disruption, and we got it sold, and they're on
And
their
with
way.
families and stuff, it's so hard to keep that house looking in showing shape.
It is.
It's a challenge because you clean one room and then the next thing you know, you go back into it and you're like,
10 minutes
What
later.
happened?
Right.
I just
Right.
picked that up.
Right. So that was important to them, right?
Yeah.
That was important to them, so we figured that aspect out. Then we also, after that, after people have their families grown, then they want to downsize or right size, as I say. Let's get you into the right size home that's going to work for you. And that segment, their biggest problem is trying to get rid of all the things
The
that they've
stuff.
accumulated over the years.
yes.
clutter.
Yeah, and it's a challenge, and it can be overwhelming. But the nice thing is, I can recommend vendors that I trust to help with that. Organizers,
I wonder who that could be.
donation.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I donated or came on with the senior companies is because I wanted a trusted vendor that I could go to be able to help my clients, whether they're seniors or anybody. You know, it's important to have those trusted people.
Yeah,
that we can
especially with
recommend.
downsizing. When you're trying to get rid of a lot of things,
Yeah.
it's not that we want to sell it and make a lot of money, but if you can feel like someone's donating it to someone who can use it, it just makes it easier to let go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been challenging through COVID to donate.
Yes, they
There was a lot of
stopped a
restrictions.
lot of things.
Yeah.
Now we find when the Senior Movers is doing donation drop-offs, they'll come to our warehouse and pick it up for us.
Oh, that's
but
great.
it's they'll take almost everything now again, which
yeah.
we're so glad, because people, they needed it the entire time, regardless if they were accepting that item or not.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
No, absolutely.
It's time for the Senior Podcast Show, Senior Spotlight, where seniors share their stories.
I moved about 2 years ago.
How did that go for you? Did you downsize?
Oh, completely. And I recommend it. But you know, you really know for about 2 or 3 years before, you know, you're thinking about doing it. So my girlfriend and I had a pact, and we had to discard of one thing every day. Now, I lived in a big house, and I taught porcelain doll making for 20 years. And I just had gobs of stuff. So constantly, you know, if you're going to discard something, so you're going through a box, and maybe you think, I'm going to get rid of one or two, and before you know it, the whole box is gone. Then we cut it because this was a competition.
Amazing.
Yeah, get rid of one thing, everything single day. After a while, you know, the kids aren't going to want this, and I might as well get rid of it, because most of the time you're saving stuff for your kids. And kids nowadays don't want it. What you do is you go through, I don't know how many kids you have, you get 2 boxes, and anytime you run it across something of theirs, you put it in the box, and then at Christmas time, you give each of them the box. Or if your kids are older when you're doing it, get that stuff together and you give it to them at the shower. Yours now.
So, and then, you know, the last market that I love working with is the senior community. So usually those are the people that have decided that they want to be in a senior community and leave their home because they're tired of the work that it involves.
The
and taking
shoveling,
care of
the
it.
yard.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Oh
And
my
even
God,
if you
the
hire it
snow.
out, it doesn't matter. Like, you still have to think about
have
it.
to worry
That's
about
right.
it.
Or if they don't show up, then they can't get out of the driveway, or the
exactly.
grass is
Right.
to your knee.
Yeah, and it can always seem overwhelming for the seniors to go through, again, everything that they've had. A lot of them have, you know, lived there for a long time, you know. Look at me, I've been in my house for 28 years. So.
A lot of
That's so
memories there.
surprising to me, unless you just found like the gold mine that, you know, throughout your process, you're like, this is the house for me.
Well, you know, I moved like 4 times in 7 years.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
So
So
you
maybe
did
it
go
is
through
11.
some of
Maybe it
yours.
is. I don't think it's 11, but no, 4 times in 7 years, and I was like, okay, I'm done. But
No kidding.
you know, that was where we had already just started our family, so we were ready to settle down. I'm just like, okay, this is where I'm not ever moving again, and I haven't. But now I'm thinking I want to downsize, right? So
yeah.
now that when my kids are getting settled and where they're living, then I'll figure all that out. But it's always a process of where, you know, the steps that we go through life, right? And
If you
where
downsized
to
that
go.
many times, or if you moved that many times, you must have really had like your packing down. You weren't holding on to things.
Efficient.
Yeah.
No, there were boxes I never opened that would just came
Oh,
to the last
to the next
house because you didn't have time, and we
that's
were
so
maybe
funny.
2 years here or a year here. But it was when you're, you know, in your 20s and late 20s, and you're just starting out and trying to get all established on where we're going to live and what job we're going to be comfortable in.
Right.
And you know, trying a stint out of state for a while. So I went through the relocation process with a major corporation. So I know that process because I lived it, right? So it's just every step along the way. So
we established that you know what you're doing. Yes.
I know.
And you're passionate about it. You can tell it's something that you love to do.
I do love to do it. And, you know, I've done this now for over 20 years. And, you know,
It probably
I did.
doesn't even seem like it.
Well, it doesn't. And, you know, again, there were steps along that way, too. Like, as my kids were young and growing up, I I wasn't actively selling like I am now, but I was an
Yeah.
investor.
Sure.
So at one time I had 36 rentals.
Wow,
and,
that's crazy.
But we were buying houses and fixing them up and either selling them or renting them out. So that's where I was involved as an investor side of it. And then back in 2011, as my kids were older and college was looming on, needing money for that,
Yeah,
it was
no.
like, okay, time to
Yeah.
go back to work full time. And, I love it. And I really do enjoy my job. I work hard, but it's not, people always ask me, like, when they're thinking to get into the business, like, how many hours do you work a week? I'm like, that's so hard to say. It's just a part of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
When I'm home and have nothing to do, I'm looking for houses. I'm looking at houses. I'm familiarizing myself with what's out there and always thinking about it. It's just integrated into my life.
But real estate was not what you had started in, was it?
No, I was in hospitality.
Yeah.
So I was in the hotel industry, came to Michigan from St. Louis, Missouri, which is where I grew up, and went to college in Missouri, and then did a couple of things in public relations in Washington, D.C., but then
Wow.
eventually, got back into the hospitality industry, which I love too. Again, it's a people thing,
It
right?
is.
Right.
All of the
It's
things
all
you mentioned
service.
were.
It's a service
Yeah.
industry, which is, I like helping people, and I loved the hotel industry, and that brought me to Ann Arbor and to Michigan, and I started 2 hotels for the company that I worked with. Came here 6 months before we broke ground and got everything going. So, we got the hotels up and running, and so it's been a big career for me, and
Yeah.
and it was something fun to do after college, but I really wanted to find something that I could do on my own,
Yes.
where I thought I could control my time,
Right.
Right.
which real estate is and isn't that way, but I like working for myself. I come from a line of entrepreneurs, and I love controlling my own life and,
Yeah,
and how
absolutely.
it works.
Having a little bit more of that say
Yeah.
in how you manage things.
Absolutely.
So you've been really successful. You also have done HGTV.
I did.
Yes.
I did. Yes, I was on House Hunters, which was really, really fun. It's such a process. I can't disclose anything about how it worked, but
Right.
I did have buyers that were coming back from Chicago to start their family and wanted to get back closer to family, which we move a lot of people like that. People from California, Chicago, New York, when they're starting their families, want to come back to the area and be close to family, which is important. And so this great young couple, and we had a blast doing it, but it was 5 days of taping for a 30-minute show. Like, it was a lot
Yes.
of work. And
Is that something, I don't know if you can disclose, because obviously they do
Right.
have a lot of rules, but is that something like you had submitted to, or how,
No.
how does that work? They find you?
They found me. Yeah,
Even
yeah,
better.
yeah,
That's amazing.
Yeah, and my buyers wanted to do it, and I said, okay, well, if you want to do it, I've got, and they actually put a call out to me again saying, it's just hard for me to take 5 days of work.
Well, that's
Yeah,
just it for one.
It's a hard thing
For one show.
Yeah.
So, but they are open to me taking other buyers.
That
and
is so neat.
Well, it was a
It's
great
fun. 'Cause that's
episode.
something
It was-
we all like to watch.
Well,
Let's be honest.
yeah.
We all want to see another side
Yeah.
of people's houses.
Except next time I'm doing it in the summer. We were in December, and it was
Yeah.
so cold, standing out at this farmhouse.
Yeah,
I
yep.
was like, oh my gosh,
Pretending not to be
pretending
freezing.
not to be freezing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the first day I didn't leave my coat on,
Well, yeah, you want to look good.
but then in every shot, then I had to have it off. So even so then the next day I just kept it on the whole day.
That was
I am
smart.
not taking that off again because I was freezing when we had to go outside.
Those
it's
are
just.
the
Yeah.
Easter eggs you noticed in shows. You're like, oh, look, her hair's moved.
I know, right? Yeah. So it was interesting. It was a process. It was fun, and I love the couple that we did it with, and we're still, we still keep in touch, of course, like I do with a lot of my clients, and and their family's growing now, and that's what's
amazing.
so exciting. Yeah, it's awesome.
So, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was saying too that you also have some other interests besides real estate that you're passionate about. Meals on Wheels, and then a hospice volunteer too.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, seniors have always had a place in my heart. I don't know if it's because when I was growing up, I was in choir in elementary school, and we used to go to the nursing home. It's what we used to call it back then, the nursing home, and we would go visit the residents and just have conversations with them and sing songs to them or whatever. And their faces would just light up, and it was it just always warmed my heart, you know. And when I was in college, I'd come home to visit my family, and my mom was doing Meals on Wheels, and I'd go with her. And so that was just seeing her do that. And so now I do Meals on Wheels every week. I love it. And, you know, it's just nice to see the same people every week. And, you know, they look forward to seeing me. I look forward to seeing them. And, you know, it's just nice. And, you know, did hospice until COVID hit, and then I couldn't go into people's homes anymore. But that was a really special time in someone's life to be there.
Absolutely,
and to help
it
out.
is.
And it was just for respite care so that the caregivers can get out of the house and go run their errands, and knew that they had someone who was trained. I mean, it was like 2 months of training.
Yeah, it's a process. You
Yeah.
can't just sign up and
No.
say, hey,
No.
I'll be there at 2:30.
It was a commitment to go through the training
Yeah.
and get through all that, because, you know, I mean, I'm not doing medicine or anything for them. It's more just holding their
It's
hand,
companion.
reading a book or whatever. Yeah, just to be a companion, and sometimes just sitting there and then hearing the stories
Oh, I bet you
about
heard
their
some
life.
wonderful ones.
Oh my, it was wonderful, and it to me it's just a special time. Yeah.
It really is. And at that time in their life, too, I mean, I think they're a lot more reflective, and I think people are more willing to share maybe some of the lessons they've learned more openly, because they really want to share that last little bit of wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of great
Special but
stories.
tough.
Yeah.
Special but tough. But you know what? To me, it really wasn't as tough as it was. You know, I got more out of it probably than they did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. Like you mentioned that your mom volunteered and did some of those things. And I think that helps you to understand that. I think this is a little off topic, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Go for it.
I think that I think a lot of people in this world are always, especially right now in these days, are always looking for likes and things like that. And I think really as soon as you turn the tables and you start doing for others, even if you just did it, like you said, you're so busy, but you find the time to at least do Meals on Wheels once a week, that fills up your cup.
Oh, for sure.
And it's not the way that so many people are looking for. I think that's really
Absolutely.
special.
Well, and
I bet your kids are probably they see you do
They
it,
do.
and then they find ways that might not be the same, but to give back and do for others, and that's so what we need.
Yeah, and it
in this
is.
world.
And you know, it's just always if I can put a smile on their face, like a lot of times, especially like with Meals on Wheels, like they don't have anybody to talk to. So I may be the
Yes.
only person that they see that day and have a conversation with, or, you know, so I'm always, you know, very patient and just to let them talk or hear about whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not just dropping off a meal and running. A couple of them are like that. One woman I've never even met. It's like, knock on the door, put the meal in here because I sleep in. It's like, okay, no problem.
Put the meal in the tub and walk away.
But I'm always like, have a good day, Mildred. So, yeah, she's the only one. I think I met her once. But, you know, so there's that along the line, too.
Yeah.
But it is just really special to me. And if I can make their day, that's great.
That's amazing. So obviously that's part of the reason why you help a variety of clients. So you definitely go through, you work with first-time home buyers, middle of the run like we talked about, but that's probably what brought you and wanted to really help you expand into the senior sector and maybe selling their last home or helping them downsize.
Yeah, well, I also think that a lot of people try to take advantage of seniors. Right?
You said it, sister.
I know.
And it's so unfortunate. They're a vulnerable population, and
I just had a client. We closed on her house in August. She moved into a senior community and more independent living. But she sent me an email the other day that said, hey, I got this call and postcard in the mail with a number on it to call about my mortgage. Can you take care of this? You know, I thought it was paid off, and it's like, it was paid off. It's like, you know, so when I call the number, it's just someone who's trying to
That's right.
act like she has a mortgage that needs to be paid off or something. It wasn't her company, but, you know, so I called her and explained that. But things like that just I don't know how people even get through life.
How do you feel good about doing that?
How do you do that? I don't get it. I wasn't raised that way. I don't raise my kids that way. I don't live, you know, it's morals and values. Like, where are they? You know, like, I don't understand how people can even do that to others, but it's part of that. I want to be there to be able to consult them and advise them on what needs to be done.
And she must have trusted you to reach out and say that. So that just goes to show the bond that you created also.
Yeah.
Because she could have just
Yeah,
handled it. She
no,
could have called the mortgage company, but instead she was like, "Hey, Marian, I need your help."
Yeah, can you take care of this for me? Which, it was easy, but, it was just a matter of making sure, checking behind it. It's like, I don't think that was her mortgage company. And,
Right.
so anyway, just figuring all that out. But, that's good. I love that my clients feel comfortable reaching out to me after the transaction of selling their home, to have me help them wherever I can.
That's super important. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why you have a slew of resources. So it might not be real estate anymore.
That's
it might be
right.
something
Yeah.
else. So
Yeah.
So I have to ask. So you said you relocated or you moved homes 4 times in 7 years.
Yeah.
How many times total do you think you have?
Well, you mean like
4 then?
buying a home?
Like the whole time. How many times have you moved?
Well, this is only the 5th.
So 5 times.
Yeah, 5 times.
We were talking earlier, and somehow we heard that the average person moves 11 times.
Yeah, I think that's really high.
Okay,
I
good.
think
Because
that's
I'm
really
like, that's overwhelming. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to move 9 more times to be average.
You can be. Yeah, it's okay to be below
I'd
average.
say
Okay, thank you.
probably somewhere between 5 and 7 times. But they do say that, people will generally move every 5 to 8 years. But I think that's even kind of high, But I mean, I do have clients. They've moved 4 times just since 2011. So,
it's a
but I
lot.
don't think that's the
Norm,
average.
the
Yeah,
norm.
yeah.
So obviously we're going to focus on seniors and relocating. My question for you is, if someone is at the very beginning steps, they don't really have a place in mind where they're going, whether that's a condo or they're going to senior living, what do you think their very first steps should be?
Well, I am the very first step. I really do believe that the first step is to call a trusted realtor that
Marian Grout.
yeah, Marian Grout, that you trust, because what you want to do is have a consultation, right? That's the first step, is to have a consultation with a trusted realtor and talk about what your goals are. Like, what are you trying to accomplish here? Where are you moving to? Do you know yet where you're moving? Even if it's like a year out, like I met with someone the other day, and she was saying it was a year out. Well, when I met with her, then it was like, I think I'm going to do it now in January. So you never know. Things are always changing, and that's the good thing. Things are always changing, right? And it's just a matter of looking at like what your future situation looks at, and then come up with a plan to get them to where they want to go, and do it, and then put that plan in motion. Whether it's to take a year and start cleaning things out, or maybe you aren't opposed to doing some painting or a couple of little things to your house to make it sell more quickly and maybe get more money for it. It depends on what your goals are. Some people they're not worried so much about getting the most money, they just want to be done. So it all depends on what their goals are, and that's what we'll sit down and do. That's the first step.
So, go ahead, Audra.
Oh, okay, thanks. So when somebody is then looking for a real estate specialist, maybe they aren't familiar with it, what are some questions that the senior and their family should ask, just due to like the situations we've already discussed? What are some like the hot things they need to ask?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and the thing is, it is different with seniors
It is.
than it is with other segments of the market. So I think the first question that they need to ask is, do you have trusted vendors that you can recommend to help me to make this move? Because again, you want people who are trusted, that have been referred out, that they know that are coming into their home, that aren't going to take advantage of them or rip them off, because it happens to everybody. And then especially in the senior market, we see that, all the time. So we want, do you have estate salespeople? Do you have painters that you can trust? Do you have, lawn care people? Because sometimes when they move out, they still have their home, and that needs to be taken care of. So they may not have thought about that, right?
Right.
So what about an attorney? Do you need an attorney? Do you have a trust? Do you have a will? And if not, I can recommend attorneys for that. So we don't close with attorneys here in Michigan, but other states do. But we close with title. But I have trusted resources, and that's the first question: is who do you have that you trust that you can recommend to help me with this move? Another important question is, how are you going to communicate with me?
Yeah,
Is it
that's
text?
a big one. Yeah.
Is it email? I don't have a computer. Like, I've got some clients, they don't have computers.
right.
Yeah.
Right? I have one right now. She's on a phone. and trying to do what I'm like, you know what, the phone's not going to do because she's out of state.
Hey, it's hard for me to see that sometimes those
Well,
little
exactly. It's like, you know
DocuSign
what?
things.
No, let me
Yeah.
send someone to your house instead, or I'll be there. You're like, how are you going to communicate?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's an amazing service.
It's an important question because
It is.
nowadays, like I have agents out there, realtors, that I'm trying to find information about a home they're selling, or I want to put in an offer and I'm calling them. They never pick up the phone. Everything, it's like, just text me what you want. I'm sorry, let's have a conversation
Yeah.
and let's talk
Yeah.
about this house so I can figure out the best way to be able to get it for my clients who want it. And why aren't you picking up the phone? I had this couple of them, like they never pick up the phone.
That's how can you do business like that?
I don't.
Well, and
but-
especially with the
well, you don't.
Well,
I don't
personally,
know
I
how you
don't.
do-
Simple then.
I don't know how you do it for your clients that way, right? How,
Yeah.
how are you doing the best job you can for your clients, which is what my job is?
Well, especially with seniors, I mean, technology the way we have it now was not something that they were accustomed to
No,
growing up.
I don't know.
So even more important to go back to having the conversations,
Right.
going in person.
Right. Yeah, and everybody's different. Like I have 90-year-olds who are on computers. They know what they're doing. They're texting. But I
Yeah.
have other 90-year-olds, they don't even own a computer. That's fine.
Right.
Let me communicate with you that you're most comfortable with. But that's a great question to ask when you're interviewing a realtor is how are you going to communicate with me? You know, everything can be done electronically or everything can be done in person. Just let me know what works for you better. And then the last question I would say is how are you going to market my home? Like when it's on the market, do I have to get out for showings? Or, you know, are you going to be here? How's that going to work? And again, my goal is to not disrupt the client as much as possible.
Right.
And to make what's going to work for them. So, you know, that's the way I want to work it for my clients. But those are 3 great questions that are different to ask for seniors than there are for the other segments of the market.
Absolutely, because there are, you know, some people have health issues or mobility issues, and so
Yeah.
you really got to be flexible and compromised so that obviously you can get them what they need.
Right, exactly.
So I know the market's changing rapidly, and there are certain things that will affect, you know, each category, as you were mentioning, of buyer or seller.
Right.
So are there any trends affecting of the industry that are affecting seniors right now that maybe they should be aware of, or things to look out for that may be predicted for the upcoming market here?
Yeah, I think, you know, and what we're seeing now, the market is stabilizing. It's been a seller's market for a couple of years,
You
and we've been
betcha.
telling people, sell your home now, and then they weren't. And now everyone is starting to sell now that interest rates are going up, you know, but I think part of that problem was no one knew where to go, right?
Well, that's it. If you wanted something comparable to the home that you were selling, it was going.
Right. Now it's different because interest rates are rising. So we still have buyers out there. I'm still selling homes, you know, like every week. So it's just that interest rates are higher, and you have to make sure, you know, like the buyers are going to be a little pickier than they were. Before they used to buy anything over asking and pay.
Yeah, I'm sure there was
cash,
a lot of
right?
bidding
Over with
wars
cash.
too. I mean,
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I did more cash transactions this year than ever.
wow.
Amazing.
Which
It
is interesting
amazes
when
me.
interest rates were so low that people were paying cash. But in most cases, I think what they were doing was, you know, their plan was to buy with cash so they could get the offer accepted, right? And then go back and finance the house through the
Refinance.
bank at a low interest rate, which worked. You know, that was a strategy we had with a lot of my clients. But yeah, you know, and the baby boomers we're all aging. So, and there's a lot of communities that are now going up in every city
Yes.
for seniors. Like, you know, even in small cities like Birmingham, where I live and work, it's a small city,
Yeah.
but there's like 2 or 3 of them that are in there now, right?
Yeah.
And
It's amazing.
It
me.
is.
It makes me worry about the infrastructure, to be honest. I'm
well,
like,
I think the infrastructure is going to be good. I do. I still think it's going to be strong.
yeah.
We've got people moving into our country all the time, right? That
True.
are also, you know, wanting to be a homeowner for the first time in their life. So I think it's all going to build onto that. But I think, you know, we really needed a stabilization in this market. It was insane. And it's nice to now get back to normal where we're negotiating, right? We're putting houses on the market, and they're sitting for a little while.
bit.
Yeah, usually though, like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, and it's funny because
That's still fast.
There's even some house, and again, it's all about pricing it right. And I always say that it's pricing it right. Even in the crazy market we had, it's like your house on paper is only worth this. So maybe we go a little bit higher, but
Right.
we're not going to
Right.
price it right, and it will sell, right? Then that's where people went over, because it's like, oh my God, it's priced so well, we're willing to pay this much more for it. So it's all relative, but it's always about pricing and making sure that it's priced right for the market that makes it attractive to the buyers that want your house. So that hasn't changed, and that won't change. But interest rates are rising. The pool for buyers is less than it was, and sellers, we just try to get their house as ready as we can to sell. And again, that's a strategy all in itself.
So with you specifically, when you're helping these seniors, what are some of the other techniques that you use to really help them have a stress-free? Because I know you talked about coming in, trying to not affect their schedule too much. If they are able to use technology, you use it. But if you need them to show up at the table like we're at right now, then you do it. You have any other little techniques?
Yeah, so I think, again, it goes back to just talking to people and meeting them where they are on their journey.
Yeah.
Where are you? What's your goal? Let's talk about that. Maybe you're just trying to gather information today. That's great. Maybe they already have made the decision that they're ready to move, so I'm there to just listen, advise, and offer options. I always like to offer options for my clients and my seniors especially. And I think one of the things, again, it goes back to having vendors and trusted contractors, right? Because I've got clients like the one that I said who just called me about her mortgage. She didn't want to do anything, so we ended up,
Yeah, some of them
I
don't.
gave her a price for what her house would sell if it was empty, vacant, and we did some painting. And then I gave them a price because her sons were involved, as usually are in situations.
Yeah.
She was moving into, independent living, but, they came in to help. They were out of state.
Yeah.
But it was like, she did want to do an estate sale because she didn't want to just leave everything there. But, I gave them what an investor would pay for it. And so I went out to my group of investors that I have, and I did an open house for like 2 hours with all my investors that came through. And then we got offers from them on what they would pay for their house with cash.
Sort of just as is.
We were able to close in 2 weeks, and she could leave anything she wanted there, which is what always makes it so attractive, right? We did that with my parents' house. Same thing. They took what they want, and then you can leave everything else in there when you're paying cash, or the investors, know that that's a big deal for families and seniors, so they're not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So we did an estate sale, whatever didn't sell, and, that she wasn't taking with her, they were able to leave in the house, and the investors are coming in and fixing up the house, and the neighbors are glad too, because the house needed to be
Some
updated.
TLC.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So there's options, right? So that's what I try to do, is provide these options to them. We can do an estate sale if you want. We don't have to. You can leave it. We can fix it up. We can do whatever you want to do.
How much you want to put in is
What
how
do
much
you
I'll
wanna
do for
yeah,
you.
right. Tell me what you want. Tell me what your goal is. If your goal is to get the most money possible and get it, updated and fixed up to sell to the open market, we can do that. Let me help you with that. Let me, refer you to the people that that you can trust, that can help you get there.
That's amazing, because that does take a lot of patience.
It
I
does.
do think not every realtor or company in general is willing to take that much time and invest that much time to really make sure that the person's getting what they need.
Yeah.
And you do have to have a special sort of patience for that, because it is scary to leave your home that you've been in for 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Well, yeah, and then you also have the family members that you're working with. So how, making sure we're communicating with all of them, and how does that work? And with everybody, it's different,
Yeah.
Some
Well, you
people,
said out of state. I mean, that's probably why they wanted to leave the things behind. They didn't have time to stick around and
Right.
clean it all out.
Right. Well, and I've got a closing next week. The owner is 97 years old,
Wow.
dementia, lives with his wife died suddenly, who was his caretaker, right? So then he couldn't live on his own because of, dementia and Alzheimer's. So, his daughter, who lives in New Jersey, who's 75,
That's right. You get an older person, you get an older
so
child.
she moved him to her house in New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
And, but he had an old farmhouse with a big red barn, a different situation, a historic house built in 1830.
How
Wow.
cool.
It was so fun. And the fun thing is I did only open house because I didn't want people in that house because first of all, it was so special. I wanted to show everything. I mean, it had cobblestone basement walls with a beautiful fireplace.
I would have loved to see that.
It was amazing, but it was built in 1830. Really special, right? But just went through. It was filled with stuff. The barn was filled with stuff. He lived there for 35 years, and him and his wife collected everything. But they adored that house, right? And so it was in pretty good shape, but you couldn't see anything. So I got my estate sale guy to contact my client, and they met, and she hired him, and he did his estate sale for 2 weekends, and then he cleaned everything out. It was immaculate, and it got all that
you
stuff.
You can see the actual bones of the house.
And then I got them a house cleaner to clean the rest of the stuff, and we put it on the market. Held a couple open houses. Had people who had lived there in the 50s and 60s and whatever, and because it's historic, I had a whole list of people who had, so it was really fun. I had so many calls from people. It was a blast. Like it's such a special house, and it was so fun to be able to be a part of it.
Was it haunted if it's from
it wasn't
1830?
no. I go there a lot by myself.
I was wondering that as a true crime podcast listener, I'm like,
that sounds like a haunted one.
Something I can't listen to, or I would never go into vacant houses alone.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
sure.
right?
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, alone.
I know, like,
let me just put these cookies in this oven.
I know, right?
Sometimes I'm in my basement and I'm like looking around.
Yeah, I get a little creeped out in that barn because it is a huge barn, and there's a loft up there too, and you'll hear things,
Oh yeah,
but it was a really special property. But those are the things that I helped my clients get through, and now she's in.
That's right.
But she's power of attorney. I've got a closer coming to her house to
that's
close
nice.
with her on Monday. She's pre-signing, and then the buyers will sign on Tuesday. So
that's great.
Coordinating all of that behind the scenes for
That's
my
a lot,
clients
but
to
it's
make sure and, do it with the least amount of hassle. They're thrilled with where we started just 2 months ago, but we started 6 months ago really preparing. We met 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm. And that's just the thing. It really, like you said, that very first step is contacting someone, a realtor that you trust, so that they can walk you through all of those steps, especially during that last relocation, perhaps.
Right. And that was from a referral, someone who had used me in the past, that she asked if anybody knew a realtor. It was a referral. And, she's happy. I asked her the other day, how has the process been for you? And she's like, oh my gosh, it's been so quick. We didn't put it on the market till September 20th or something.
Oh my gosh.
And we're closing next week. So it's been
that was quick.
lot of stuff going on.
That is quick.
Yeah, but it's again, we started those 6 months ago preparing. So it's a lot.
So you told us about all of the amazing services and all of the patience that you put into caring for your clients. Would you like to tell our audience how they can contact you and how they can find you?
Gosh, yes, my favorite. Yes, I would love to work with you and at least just have a conversation and just see, what I can do to help you and what your situation is. So you can contact me at Marian Grout at gmail.com, and I work for Adobe Real Estate in Birmingham at this time as my broker, but I do all of Oakland County, some parts of Macomb and Wayne, and just Southeast Michigan. So, phone number?
Yes, please.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
248-761-4110.
And we'll put that on the screen for them.
Yeah, that's my cell phone. So
she'll answer. She
I'll
said.
answer.
Not just
I will
text back.
answer.
Not just
I
text.
do snooze my phone from 10 o'clock at night till 8 in the morning.
Oh,
so.
that's okay. You got to get your sleep so that way
But
you
if
can
I'm in a
do it.
negotiation, I'm on the phone. So, So anyway, no, it's in senior companies, what a great organization to
Thank
be
you.
a part of. I'm honored to be one of the preferred realtors for the company to be able to help your clients out as well. I love this partnership. I'm excited.
It's our absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions for myself or Audra, you can reach me at kl@theseniormovers.com.
Or you can reach me at as@theseniormovers.com.
You can reach us by phone at 586-204-8500. That's the senior companies or the senior movers. We work well in conjunction with Marian. We do help seniors relocate into, within, and out of senior living communities, as well as offer a variety of other services, including advisory services, where we go ahead and if you need resources, we absolutely refer you to people like Marian. So, with that being said, Marian, we want to thank you so much. I have learned a ton today.
Me too.
I really enjoyed the
good. Oh,
conversation.
I'm so glad. That's
I
what I wanna do, yeah.
encourage our listeners to reach out to you if they have any questions regarding any of their real estate needs.
Please.
But I thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for coming.
Cheers. So fun. That was great.